by itself won't make any difference. But supporting this amendment will build confidence with the American people that says, you know, he's right. We ought to be about priorities. We ought to be about doing what is most important first and cutting out what is least important, because the times call for discipline so that we don't further hamstring the generation of children for which this young lady belongs. And you know, if you take $5 or $6 million and do it once, and pretty soon if you've done it 10 times, you got $60 million. And you do it another 10 times, you got $600 million. And pretty soon we've got billions of dollars that we're not spending because it's low priority and we're not borrowing it against our children. And all of a sudden, the value of the dollar starts rising. Confidence around the world in the dollar starts increasing. Competition for capital by the federal government competing in the private sector for that capital goes down. The cost of capital goes down. Credit flows and job opportunities are created. But we don't connect that because we've always done it that way. We've got a budget allocation, and as long as we're under that budget allocation, everything is fine. Where is the leadership in our country today that says we're going to model a leadership that we know the American people expect of us? Make hard choices, take the heat to eliminate things that are lower priority so that we can preserve the priority of this child and those of her generation. The fact is that leadership is non-existent. And there's no reason for anyone to doubt why the confidence in the Congress is at all-time lows. Because we're not realists, and we're not listening. And the message out there, the number one concern with fear isn't health care, it's economic. Am I going to have a job tomorrow? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? Will I be able to pay my mortgage? And there's thousands of things in every appropriation bill, just like this one, just like that amendment, that we could eliminate tomorrow. And yeah, it might create some small hardship, but nothing in comparison to the hardship we're transferring to the following generations. So I have no doubt the outcome of the votes on my amendments. I understand that we are a resistant, recalcitrant body that refuses to recognize the will and direction of the American people in terms of common sense priorities. I understand that. But what we must understand is they're awake now, they're listening, and they're watching. It is time to respond to the desires of the American people and stop responding to the special interests of those that are getting money from the federal government that is low priority in terms of what really counts and really matters for our future. I have one other amendment that we will be voting on that transfers money to increase the money at the Inspector General. It will not slow down the conversion of the building, the Hoover building, at all. We've been told that. But it will help to make good government, because part of our problem in government is about 10% of everything we do is pure waste, pure fraud, or pure duplication. And if we're going to invest dollars in something, we ought to invest in the transparency and the accountability mechanisms that we've already set up. I find myself encouraged by the attitude of the American people, yet discouraged by the attitude of my colleagues. Because nobody wants to take and make the hard choices. The hard choices that say we're going to get heat if we start prioritizing things. The easiest thing is to do nothing. The easiest thing is to continue to let the programs run, whether they're high priority or not. That's easy. But America is having a rumble right now. The ground is shaking. The American people are paying attention, and they're going to watch votes just like this one. And then we're going to be called to account as, why won't you make priority choices? Why won't you take the heat? You know, if there ought to be any political science study done, is why are members of Congress such cowards? That's the thing we ought to study. We ought to study why we refuse to do the right thing because it puts our job at risk. We ought to be doing the right thing when it does put our job at risk and when it doesn't. So I will finish up by reminding us of what our oath is. Our oath never mentions our state. Our oath never mentions our special interests. Our oath never mentions our campaign contributors. What our oath mentions is that we are senators of the United States, not from Oklahoma, not from Delaware, not from Maryland, not from Ohio, but we're senators for the United States. We just happen to be from those places. And our oath is to the long-term best interest of the country, never a parochial interest. And as you go through these bills, what you see is parochial interest trumping the long-term best interest of our country. And that's not to demean the fine job that the senator from Maryland has done. There is no question she came in with a number that was given her. There's no question that she probably made some tough choices as she did that. But we haven't made enough. This kind of increase in this kind of bill is absurd. It's obscene. It's obscene at a time when the average family's income is declining. Their ability to have the freedom to make choices, relaxed choices about what they do versus very stern choices about what is a necessity. And we have not gotten the message. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Mr. President.
The junior senator from Connecticut is recognized.
I thank